We are going to be looking at how to determine the operation in a word problem, as well as how to solve them using our 3-read word problem chart. Before we get into using the word problem chart, let's review the key actions and words for each operation. In addition, for the key actions in a problem, we are usually finding the total, our number is increasing, we might be combining objects or getting more of something. There are also some key words that we could look for. Those key words are in all, total, both, altogether, plus, sum, and gained. Now, it's important to understand that these words do not always automatically mean we're adding. For clues to subtraction problems, we could look at the actions such as finding a part, if my number is decreasing, if the total is given, something is leaving, or if I'm finding the difference between two amounts. The keywords that sometimes indicate what we're looking at is subtraction are difference, less, lost, left, minus, remaining, fewer than, how many more, and how much more. When looking at multiplication and division, we have some similarities. Like addition, for multiplication, we are finding the total, and our number is getting bigger or increasing. We're also finding the product or multiple, and sometimes we're looking at equal groups. Keywords to help us to look for are in all, total, product, and sometimes the words per, each, times, double, triple, and half can also mean multiplication. For division, there are also some similarities to subtraction. For example, our number is decreasing, or the total is given in division problems. We might also be finding groups, or the number in each. We might be splitting something up, finding factors, or equal groups. Keywords that could mean division are split up, quotient, factor, and shared. And just like with multiplication, sometimes the words per, each, times, double, triple, and half can mean division. Now let's take a look at our 3-read word problem chart steps. The first step is to identify what's happening with our first read. During the second read, we want to mark up the final question and write it in our So section. During the third read, we want to find what the facts are in the problem and jot those down in the I know. We want to then identify and solve, and then double check to make sure our answer makes sense. So let's take a look at a problem. The problem I have is the members of the chess club have been asked to hand out a stack. Okay, so we're handing out a stack of 450 flyers to their friends and family. If the 6, there's an important number, 6 club members are all given the same number of flyers, how many does each member need to hand out? Okay, so we've got a number of clues in this problem that might help me. Now, I just did my first read, and I want to identify what's happening. So I can visualize a group or a stack of 450 papers and people passing them out, right? Each person's going to get a number in their stack. During the second read, I want to start to fill in my word problem chart. The members of the chess club have been asked to hand out a stack of 450 flyers to their friends and family. If the 6 club members are all given the same number of flyers, how many does each member need to hand out? So if I'm looking for that final question, I'm looking at how many does each member need to hand out? We'll turn that into a sentence. Each member needs to hand out blank flyers. And I'll shrink that down to fit in the cell. Okay, now I want to read it again so that I can fill in my I know. The members of the chess club have been asked to hand out a stack of 450 flyers. So I'm going to write that, 450 flyers to their friends and family. If 6 club members are each given the same number of flyers, how many does each member need to hand out? Okay, so I've got 450 flyers, 6 club members, and it says each gets the same number of flyers. Now that I know what my facts are and I know what my final question is, I can start working on the operation and then solving. So this problem has the word each in it, and that gives me a clue that it might be a multiplication or division. In order to help me figure out that operation, I can go ahead and do my blank times blank. So let's try and figure out what is my groups, what are my groups, what are my number in each, what is my total. So I've got 450 flyers and I'm giving those to the club members. And my final question is, how many does each person get? So I don't know how many each person's going to get. That's what I'm solving for. But I do know that I've got 450 flyers that I need to split up among my 6 club members. So that means each person is what we're solving for. Since I'm solving for the smaller number, we're going to go ahead and divide to get my answer, right? So this is going to be 450 divided by 6 equals my answer. Well, in order to divide, we have to go ahead and use the bank method. Well, to use the bank method, I want to go ahead and create my bank of numbers. So I'm going to take 6, my divisor, and multiply it by my friendly numbers of 1, 2, and 5, and keep going until I can no longer take out from my quotient, which is 450. All right, when I'm looking at this, I can't use 600 because it's way too big. I can't subtract 100 groups of 6 from my 450. But I can subtract 300, which is 50 groups of 6. So I can subtract 0 minus 0, 0, 5 minus 0, 5, and 4 minus 3, 1. Well, now I can't subtract 300 because it's too big, but I can subtract 120, which is 20 groups of 6, because 20 times 6 is 120. That leaves me with 30 left. Well, I can't subtract 60, but I can subtract 30, which is 5 groups of 6. And I have no remainder left over. Now I need to add up to get my quotient. So 50 plus 20 is 70, plus 5 is 75. So that means each person will have to hand out 75 flyers. The last thing I need to do is double check that my answer makes sense. To do this, I look and I see, okay, I had 6 people, and each of those people are getting 75 pieces of paper. Well, that makes sense because my number was supposed to get smaller because I was dividing up that 450. So it seems like a reasonable answer.